Is Santa Claus really Mithras? The curious case of a holiday tale. Have you ever looked at Santa Claus, his jolly face, iconic hat, and sack of gifts, and wondered if this beloved figure could have roots in a much older, more mysterious tradition? What if Santa, as we know him, is not just a North Pole resident surrounded by elves, but also an echo of an ancient god named Mithras? The parallels are fascinating, and today we'll unwrap this curious connection. Buckle up, because this is a journey into history, mythology, and the magic of cultural evolution. Let's look beyond the red suit and white beard into what might be Santa's oldest origins. Could the Christmas traditions we hold so dear actually come from Mithras, a hero God celebrated centuries ago? We're not here to present definitive answers, but to spark your imagination and challenge you to think about how myths and traditions intertwine across time. Ready? Let's dive in. Let's first start with the Santa Claus we all know and love. Today's Santa Claus is a jolly figure dressed in red, with a white beard, rosy cheeks, and a booming laugh. He rides in a sleigh pulled by reindeer, delivers gifts to children worldwide on Christmas Eve, and carries his magical sack filled with presents. This iconic image, ubiquitous in modern culture, is largely shaped by centuries of evolution. The real origin of Santa comes from Saint Nicholas, a 4th century Christian bishop from Myra, modern-day Turkey, known for his generosity and habit of secret gift-giving. Through time, his story evolved as it merged with various cultural traditions across Europe and eventually became linked to Christmas. By the 19th century, artists like Thomas Nast and companies like Coca-Cola helped create the cheerful, rotund Santa we recognize today. But some researchers suggest that buried beneath this modern version are older and deeper cultural influences, ones that predate Saint Nicholas altogether. Now let's travel back to the Roman Empire and the world of Mithras, a hero god at the center of a mystery religion. Mithraism was popular between the 1st and 4th centuries CE, particularly among Roman soldiers. The cult centered around initiation rituals in secluded caverns and underground temples, shrouded in secrecy and full of symbolic images. Mithras is often depicted wearing a Phrygian cap, a distinctive conical hat with its peak folded forward. He's famously shown slaying a cosmic bull, a central act referred to as the *tauroctony*, which symbolized cosmic creation and renewal. From the bull's blood and body sprang life itself, according to the mythology. Here's where it gets really interesting. Mithras's birth was celebrated by followers on December 25th. That's right. Long before Christmas was linked to that date, it held special importance in Mithraic traditions. Mithras was believed to have been born from a rock or cave, with shepherds attending his miraculous birth. So now we have an ancient god, with a significant date and some intriguing symbolism. But how could any of this relate to Santa Claus? At first glance, Santa and Mithras seem worlds apart. What could an ancient Roman deity have to do with a modern symbol of Christmas cheer? The similarities, though subtle, start to add up when examined closely. One of the most striking parallels lies in headwear. Mithras is always depicted wearing his Phrygian cap, a pointed hat with its peak lounging forward. Now think about Santa's iconic red hat. It has nearly the same shape, albeit with a pom-pom. Could Santa's hat be a modern, more festive adaptation of Mithras's distinctive headgear? The Phrygian cap itself was a common symbol in ancient art, often representing freedom and heroism. While it's impossible to say definitively that Santa's hat is a direct descendant of Mithras's cap, the resemblance is an intriguing starting point. We can't talk about Santa without mentioning his famous sack of gifts. But in Mithras's mythology, he also carried something, a special sack or bag related to his role in slaying the cosmic bull. While Santa's sack is full of joy and presence, Mithras's is more symbolic, tied to the slain bull's body and the cosmic materials said to create life. This parallel is more speculative. A sack is present in both traditions, though what it holds is vastly different. Could Santa's bag, as a repository of wonder, have distant echoes of Mithras's symbolic burden? Perhaps the most direct connection is the date itself. Mithras's birth was celebrated on December 25th, a significant day in Roman culture because of its association with the winter solstice. It symbolized the rebirth of the sun, growing stronger as days began to lengthen. When Christianity spread through the Roman Empire, December 25th became linked to Jesus' birth. Historians often note that this overlapping date was likely a strategic move to ease the transition from pagan traditions to Christian ones. But could Mithras have quietly influenced the figure of Santa Claus, whose association with this date came much later? It's an idea worth pondering. To truly understand the connection, or lack thereof, between Santa Claus and Mithras, we need to take a step back and consider how myths evolve. Cultures rarely create new symbols or traditions out of thin air. Instead, they repurpose old ones, layering new meaning onto familiar stories. During the rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire, religious figures like Mithras were gradually replaced or absorbed into Christian customs. Roman festivals like Saturnalia, for example, heavily influenced Christmas traditions, bringing with them a sense of festive cheer and gift-giving. The blending didn't stop there. Over centuries, Christian traditions intertwined with European folklore, creating figures like Father Christmas and Sinterklaas. These figures eventually merged in the American cultural imagination to become Santa Claus. Could Mithras have been an early thread in this complex tapestry? It's hard to say, but the possibility highlights how symbols persist across time, adapting to meet the needs of new societies. Of course, skeptics might argue that the parallels between Santa and Mithras are surface level at best. The Phrygian cap, for instance, was a common symbol in ancient art and was worn by several other figures, not just Mithras. Similarly, December 25th was celebrated by other Roman deities, like Sol Invictus, and may not have been specifically tied to Mithras in as concrete a way as some claim. Santa's sack, too, is more likely a modern invention tied to the tradition of gift-giving, with no direct connection to Mithraic symbols. And while shared archetypes, like the heroic figure or the birth symbolism of December 25th, exist, they don't necessarily mean Santa is a descendant of Mithras. But even if some of these parallels are coincidental, there's no denying they spark fascinating questions about how cultures borrow and reinterpret symbols over time. Whether Santa truly has roots in Mithras or not, their similarities may speak to something deeper: shared human archetypes. Psychologist Carl Jung proposed that certain symbolic figures, like the heroic slayer of chaos, Mithras, or the benevolent father figure, Santa, appear across cultures because they represent universal human themes. Santa, as a giver of gifts and joy, symbolizes abundance, generosity, and renewal, much like the role Mithras played within the cosmos. December 25th, as a turning point in the solar calendar, likely appealed to both Mithraic and Christian sensibilities as a time to celebrate light and life overcoming darkness. Perhaps the Santa-Mithras connection isn't about direct influence at all, but about the way humanity continues to retell its favorite stories in new ways. So, is Santa Claus really Mithras? Probably not in the literal sense. But as we've seen, there are enough echoes to give mythology buffs something to chew on. Could the Phrygian cap have inspired Santa's hat? Was Mithras' sack a cosmic predecessor to Santa's magical one? Does December 25th link them more deeply than we realize? Ultimately, the connection between Santa and Mithras isn't about proving a direct lineage. It's about exploring how myths evolve and shape cultural traditions. The beauty of these parallels lies in their ability to make us think more deeply about the stories we tell and celebrate. So, next time you're decorating your tree or hanging your stockings, take a moment to think about Mithras. Maybe Santa and Mithras are cosmic cousins after all, a reminder of our shared human knack for weaving archetypes into festive tales. What do you think? Is Santa Claus the cheerful afterlife of an ancient hero god, or are we simply drawing imaginary lines? Let us know in the comments. Let the speculation begin.